on why a game. Yeah,
I always
yeah.
do that to you. I just push the record button mid conversation.
I think it's great. I think
But you were just saying, like, sometimes you feel like you're just like getting so far, and then other times you're like, I feel like I'm going backwards.
right,
And
because some just don't hit the mark. Some you're like, this is it. This is amazing. And people are loving it and it's great. And of course, I get feedback that from some companies, like, why do you need this piece? Or why is this here? Or do you need this step? But then other people love it, right? So obviously it's for some people, not for others. But then reflecting back, sometimes I'll look at things and I'm like, okay, I get why nobody wanted this game. I get this. Or maybe something wasn't developed enough. But yeah, some games are like, yes, this is right on. And then some I'm like, I still don't get it. Like, this is still awesome.
yeah.
You know?
And do you think like some of that is just like as you mature as a game designer, you're like, oh, I'm getting really good at this. And then some of the ones that you look back on, you're like, I could fix that, but I'm not going to. Or some you're like, I could fix that and I will. And then some of it is just like the person in the chair across from you, right? Like
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
experience, their needs, their wants, their understanding, their like, right? We always talk about the right game in the right room.
hmm 100%. 100%. Well, I think too, as I've developed, my games have developed, right? So I think a lot of them were very, in the beginning were very, you remember this. I know you're probably giggling in your head right now. No, he's giggling out loud, everybody. Um, how, I don't say not premature, but they weren't totally developed. They weren't ready yet. And, I could think about some of them that I'm just so passionate about, maybe a theme or a mechanic in a game where I could think of, okay, this could be done still, but it needs a whole rework, right? I think some of them are good beginnings. And I think that's something I want to do is go back and show how I evolved a game. I think that would be a neat series to do, right? And then
Oh
repitch
yeah.
it and then
Oh
like
yeah.
license it. And then like I have all these videos showing how I changed it, which I
Yeah.
think would be really fun. Um, but yeah, you could have someone who just loves something and the next person doesn't, even though you think it's such a fit for their company. If they had like, say they hate horses or they I don't know, they don't want to smash something or they don't want to
Right.
do whatever, then even if it might be a fit for the company as a whole, that inventor relations person could just not be having it, right? Like,
Yeah.
did you, when you were inventor relations, was there
I
anything
mean,
that just turned you off?
there was definitely times when so sometimes what would turn me off is if I would see the same kind of game over and over and over again. And I would think to myself, I don't want to be one of 6 companies licensing one of 10 variations and coming out to market with the same game as a bunch of different people. And so
Okay,
even
yeah.
though I was like, that's a pretty good game, I was like, I've also seen 6 other pretty good games just like it. And so
Mm,
whatever was in the water this year, there's a bunch of these going around, and sometimes
right.
I'd be like cautious about that. If I really liked it, I would take a prototype and like play test it. And, if it was great, it was great and just go for it because maybe it's the best version of that game. But,
Yeah.
if you, some years when you're watching movies, you're like, why is everyone doing zombie movies? Like this is
Yeah.
the 4th zombie movie this year, and I
Mhm.
felt like that. So sometimes I was cautious about those. Um, Usually the thing that would game mechanics was the thing that would like get me because I
Mhm.
was always thinking like, oh well, we could put a different theme on that.
Right.
um but sometimes the theme is so intertwined, so part of it, so integral to it, and you're like, I don't believe in the theme, or the theme was so huge last year,
Mhm.
you're like, is poop going to be big again this year?
Probably not.
Like, wow, we all did so many poop games the last 2 years. Is
Mhm.
there a third year of poop? And those kind of things where you sort of second guess, like, oh well, it's a good game, but is it good enough? Is it great
Mhm.
that the third year of poop is going to be blockbuster?
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
I don't know. I would, a lot of times you sort of have a gut instinct on like, well, this person can make it better, or this person has a great game already,
Mhm.
and maybe we can make it something else, or like if the theme was like, sideways.
Sure.
Slime was one of them I turned down pretty much every time, probably a
Okay.
mistake, but I was like, what parent really wants to dig slime out of every crevice?
I've had it on my ceiling and in my carpet, and even there was a point where I'm like, there's just no more.
Yeah, I was like, I don't believe in slime as anything more than a craft activity,
Okay.
you know, and maybe that's wrong. There's probably a slime game out there I missed, but I was like, no, no.
Not doing it, not doing it. So getting back to kind of, the involvement or hit or miss, or what makes, when we think we're going one way and doing well, and then it's not being received well. It could be for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
Maybe we miss the mark on game mechanics. Maybe the theme isn't needed or doesn't match it well or isn't
yeah,
intertwined as much. And sometimes it just might be the person sitting on the other chair. And big, like you always told me, is it's easier to get a yes if you're in the right place. So of course, don't pitch it to a company. Don't pitch a game that says this has to be wooden pieces into a game to a company who's never made a game with wooden pieces. Would you agree?
yeah. There's definitely companies out there that do wooden parts and pieces really well,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some companies that are like, that's not even our wheelhouse.
Right, right. And some companies are strictly, they only will do card games, or they want like something popping out and crazy, silly.
Yeah,
And so you've got to find those matches.
or a party game company, and you're pitching a preschool game.
Oh my gosh, don't make that mistake. That could like have them never answer your email again, right?
You're like, hey, listen, I've got this great idea for a game for 5 and under, and they're like, do you know who we are?
Have you looked at our website? It
Did
hasn't
you
changed.
Yeah, did you just
Oh,
click accept without ever reading it?
oh
Oh,
goodness. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So could be a lot of different things. But anyway,
yeah,
evolving, I think, is just the most important part of all of this.
yeah, definitely look back, reflect, and evolve.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
for
I love
sure.
it.
Yeah.